Two men fight together, and the wife of one draws near to rescue her husband from the hand of the one attacking him, and puts out her hand and seizes him by the private parts, and you shall cut off her hand. Yo, I shall not pity her. Yo, I shall not pity her.
Now, what that young lady was singing about, you'll find in Deuteronomy 25, verse 11. And basically, Deuteronomy meaning the second law, is establishing one of the laws to which God has sent down to Moses for the Israelite people. And in one of those laws, the controlling idea of manhood in this book suggests, and you're not going to hear this preached in a church or anything like that. This is one of those things you have to study on your own. Is going to say that if two men are fighting and your woman engages in the fight, now if she hit him in the head, if she kick him in the legs, if she body shot him, she can do all those things to help her man defend himself in combat, in a battle, in a fight. But if her hands were to grab him in the genitals, then cut off her hand. Somebody could have been trying to kill you, and in the midst of the fight, her hands touches his balls, touches the ping. She is then to be punished by having her hands cut off, and you're not supposed to feel sorry for her. Don't look down. Don't cast your eyes down. Don't pity her. But you're supposed to look at her and say you deserve to have your hands cut off because you grabbed the man's balls in the midst of fighting. It's not like she was trying to get with the man, trying to commit adultery or anything of that nature. No. She was trying to defend her man. But in the midst of that, she has to have enough self-control to make sure she don't grab his balls, grab the ping. These types of laws are just more of an indication that this book was written for a time, for people, and based on their customs and how they viewed things. The first part, the fact that you would even have to go as far as to put this in there, was that happening so often? Or was it just a control mechanism? Now, most of the time it wasn't because it was happening so often, but it was just as men sat around writing these laws, they thought, we don't want our women to touch another man's genitals because we must control every aspect of a woman's life, every aspect of a woman's sexuality. And if she touches a man's ball, she has defiled herself to the point where her hands should be cut off. And whether these laws were ever carried out or not, we, of course, are not going to have any indications of that unless we find some tablets or something where a judge meted out that punishment to someone, much like we can go and look at someone's criminal records, or much like when we was in Yuma, Arizona yesterday, and we stopped at the Yuma Historical Penitentiary, and you had the records of people who went to prison who was in that prison, women who was in that prison because they committed adultery. So unless we find certain records like that back in those times at that place, those were just laws that were put on the books. We could look at them as blue laws, but because these are supposed to be the laws of God, then it takes on another level. It would be different if it was just blue laws. Like there's a blue law in Virginia that says that you can take your wife to the courthouse step and whip her on a certain Sunday as long as the whip is not too big, right? There's a certain size. So we could look at them as blue laws, but we know man inserted those blue laws in Virginia. But when we look at the laws from this book, these are supposed to be the inspired word of this deity. But this deity, what you will not find is within the book where it says that these are the inspired words of this deity, that men were inspired to write these things down. This was a later creation in the 4th and 5th century, where the Roman Catholic Church, those who what would become the Roman Catholic Church, decided that all scriptures, all these scriptures that they had canonized, were the inspired word of God, and anything else was heretical. So, since Deuteronomy, this made it in there, then this law of cutting off a woman's hand if he touches a man's genitals in the process of defending her man is inspired by God, according to the belief of the doctrine in this book. And how can a God, who is supposed to be a good God, would say that that is a justifiable thing, that that needs to be written down? Because if it ever happens, there needs to be a recourse that I've already established so that the woman will know her place even in the midst of combat. These are just more reasons why we walk away from this book. But hey, y'all have a great day. And remember always, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.